After being hospitalized for a stroke, I was paralyzed on my left side, trapped in my own body. I could still hear everything. My wife thought I couldn't understand as she told her new lover on the phone, "I'll be free soon enough." I recovered, and filed the divorce papers she never saw coming. I'm a 58-year-old guy from Lexington, Kentucky. Been working in HVAC since I was 19. I fix air conditioners, heaters, crawl under houses, and crawl back out covered in dirt and sweat. I've been doing it so long, I could probably fix a furnace in my sleep. I married Denise when I was 32. She was a waitress back then, working nights at a steakhouse. Smart mouth, sharp eyes, real good at telling stories and making people laugh. I fell for her fast. We got married 6 months after our first date. Maybe too fast. I ignored a lot of signs. Like how she never really asked me about my day. Or how she'd roll her eyes if I bought something cheap instead of the fancy brand she liked. But I loved her, and I thought that would be enough. We never had kids. She didn't want them. Said they'd ruin her body and her sleep. I didn't fight her on it, even though deep down, I wanted a little one. A boy or girl to teach things to. I buried that wish. Told myself we'd have each other. We bought a house on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, but I worked hard for it. Paid it off by year 20 of our marriage. She decorated it, kept it clean, filled it with scented candles and throw pillows I didn't understand. We had a routine. I worked, came home, ate whatever she made or ordered, watched some TV, went to bed. Rinse, repeat. Then the stroke hit me. It happened in the garage. I was fixing the damn lawn mower, again. It always clogged. I remember leaning over to pull a twig out, then everything went sideways. My arm, my left one, just dropped. Useless. I couldn't stand. My mouth felt like it had been sewn shut. I collapsed, hit the floor hard. I remember that smack. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. Denise found me about 10 minutes later. I know because the garage clock was in front of me. I remember seeing the second-hand tick. She opened the door and screamed. She called 911. Told them I was non-responsive. Her voice cracked while she talked, and I honestly thought she sounded terrified. Like she actually loved me. Paramedics came. Everything moved fast and slow at the same time. They got me into the ambulance. I was fully conscious, but I couldn't let them know that. I couldn't talk. Couldn't blink or move. They thought I was out of it. But I was there. I was in there, screaming. Hospital was bright and cold. They hooked me up to wires, tubes, machines. They told Denise it was a severe stroke. That I might not recover movement or speech. That I may never communicate again. I watched her face when they said that. She cried. Not loud, just some tears down her cheek. Her jaw clenched. She nodded. No hug, no hand squeeze. I laid in that bed for days. Nurses came in and out. They flipped me, wiped me, fed me through a tube. I heard every word. I felt everything. I just couldn't respond. The real punch in the gut came 3 weeks in. That night, the nurses left early. Denise came in around 11 p.m. Sat in the chair beside me, like she always did. Except this time, she wasn't pretending to care. She didn't even look at me. She pulled out her phone, turned her back to me, and called someone. Yeah, babe, she whispered. I'm still at the hospital. He's the same. They said it's just a matter of time. She laughed. A real laugh. The kind I hadn't heard in years. Of course I'm upset. But maybe this is what was meant to happen. I'll be free soon enough. Free. That word hit me like a hammer. She kept talking. No, no one suspects. I've been the perfect wife. I even cried in front of the doctor today. Full performance. Once he's gone, we'll sell the house and go to Clearwater. Just like we said. She paused. Then added, I already moved the money. He won't even notice. I lay there, listening to every single word. My heart was pounding so hard I thought the machines would start beeping. But they didn't. I was silent. Still. Frozen. And that night, something changed in me. I didn't want to die anymore. I wanted to remember. I made myself a promise in that bed. I would get out of there. No matter how long it took. No matter how hard. I would recover. I would survive. And when I did, I'd make sure Denise knew what it felt like to be betrayed, helpless, and blindsided. The physical therapy started slow. I couldn't talk yet, but they figured out I could respond by blinking. I made it my full-time job to get stronger. I moved fingers. Then my hand. Took weeks. They taught me to speak again. I practiced sounds, syllables, cursed words under my breath when no one was listening. I didn't tell Denise. She stopped visiting every day. Said it was too hard to see me like this. The nurses told me she started missing appointments. That she came in reeking of wine more than once. One of them slipped and mentioned that she brought a man in one night. She claimed he was a cousin. She didn't know I was slowly coming back to life. Didn't know I could talk to the speech therapist. That I was able to walk with help by month 4. That I was documenting everything I remembered from her calls and her lies. I found one nurse I trusted. Maria. She was maybe in her 40s. Tough, no nonsense. She was the only one who looked me in the eye and didn't talk to me like I was a child. I told her everything when I could finally speak. She helped me file a private request to keep my medical updates confidential. Denise stopped getting reports. And I stopped being her victim. 6 months after the stroke, I walked out of the rehab center with a cane and a list of lawyers. I didn't go home. Instead, I got a small 1-bedroom rental across town. Paid for it with cash from a savings account Denise didn't know about. I had stashed it away over the years, little by little. For emergencies. This counted. I met with Greg Ellis, a family attorney with a nasty reputation. He looked at me like I was already a ghost when I told him the story. "You sure you don't have any recordings?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I remember every word." He leaned back, sighed, then said, "All right. Let's ruin her." We pulled financials. Found her new account. Found evidence she'd already talked to a realtor about listing the house. She hadn't told them I was alive and recovering. Then Greg filed the divorce paperwork. We made sure she'd be served at the most humiliating place possible, walking into a wine tasting event she posted about on Facebook. Public. Full of friends. She was smiling when the process server walked up. She wasn't smiling after. She called me 17 times that night. I didn't pick up. After she got served, Denise lost it. I didn't answer her calls. Not the voicemails, the texts, nothing. I blocked her number after the second day. But she didn't stop. She showed up at my rental house. I was sitting on the porch, legs still a little shaky, but I stood up when I saw her pull into the driveway. She looked shocked. Not sad. Shocked. Like seeing a ghost. Like she expected me to be strapped to a bed somewhere, drooling on myself. "Ray," she said. "Hey there," I said. My voice still had a slur, but it was strong enough. She looked like she'd seen the devil. "You're walking?" I nodded. She just stood there. Then started crying. The fake kind. I'd heard her real tears once. These were theater. "I didn't know," she said. "Why didn't anyone tell me? I've been so worried." "Cut it," I said. "I heard you that night, Denise. Every word. I'll be free soon enough. We'll go to Clearwater. You moved the money. You gave up on me. Don't play dumb." Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked around like someone might be recording her. "You were in a coma. You don't know what you heard. I was paralyzed, not deaf. You want me to repeat it word for word?" She started to say something, then stopped. She looked different now. Cold. Like the mask had dropped. "This doesn't have to be nasty," she finally said. "We can split things evenly. Move on." "Nope," I said. "Not how this ends." Greg had found out more by this point. Denise had already drained over $17,000 from our joint savings before I was discharged. Opened a credit card in my name. Bought herself a new wardrobe and took a week-long, self-care, trip to Miami with her lover. Paid for the hotel with my card. We had bank statements. Security footage from the resort. She had no clue we knew. She tried to file a countersuit, claimed I was abusive, mentally unfit, that I had a temper, even said I was dangerous when I drank. She wanted alimony. Half the house. My truck. Greg was ready. We brought in the hospital's speech therapist, the nurses, Maria. Everyone gave statements. She was buried in lies and didn't even realize how deep. Said I was violent. I had character witnesses from my entire crew at work. Said I yelled at her. We had no police records, no complaints, no evidence. Her new boyfriend, the Clearwater Dream Man, got subpoenaed. Turns out he had no clue I was alive. She told him I was in a vegetative state and wouldn't last more than a month. He admitted that in a deposition. You could see the panic setting in. Her lawyer kept trying to settle. Greg refused. "We'll see you in court," he told them. The court date came. I showed up in a gray suit, walking with my cane. Hair trimmed. Strong enough to stand on my own. She showed up in white like she was at a funeral. The judge didn't take long to see through her. We laid it all out. The lies. The affair. The money she tried to steal. The fake abuse stories. My medical records proved I was recovering while she was partying in Florida and laying the groundwork to sell my house. When the judge asked her why she told people I was going to die soon, she said, "That's what I believed." Greg handed over the audio transcripts from the nurses' statements and the depositions from her lover. The courtroom got quiet. Then came the final blow. Greg showed the judge a timeline. From the day of the stroke to the night she said, "I'll be free soon enough," to the hotel bookings, the withdrawals, and the emails to real estate agents. It was all too much. Her hands started to shake. She knew. She'd lost everything. After court that day, I thought it was over. I thought the next step would be dividing what was left, signing the papers, and letting her crawl back into whatever hole she came from. But Denise wasn't done yet. 2 weeks after the hearing, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a typed letter with one sentence: "If you think Denise was the only one waiting for you to die, think again." At first, I thought it was a joke. Some sick prank. But then I looked closer at the postmark. It was stamped from Cincinnati. That's where Denise's younger sister, Megan, lived. We hadn't talked in years. Megan always rubbed me the wrong way. Too smiley, too perfect. She was at our wedding, but barely ever visited after that. I sat with the letter for a while. Then curiosity got the better of me. I called her. She answered like she'd been expecting it. Ray? Yeah. A long pause. I shouldn't have sent that letter, she said. But I couldn't sleep anymore. What do you mean? I came to visit the hospital. Once. Denise didn't know. I overheard her on the phone, and I heard what she said about the insurance. What insurance? Silence. Then, the life insurance policy. She changed it. Made herself sole beneficiary 2 weeks before your stroke. My skin went cold. I never changed that policy. I had it through work. I always kept my niece on there, my brother's daughter. Denise always said she didn't care about that stuff. Apparently, she cared now. She didn't tell you? Megan asked. No. She never even mentioned it. She was bragging to someone on the phone about how she'd be taken care of. Said the house would sell for plenty, but the policy was the real win, $250,000. That hit me harder than the stroke. I thanked her, hung up, and called Greg. He was quiet after I told him. Then he said, "All right. We're filing for fraud next." We requested the insurance change documents. And guess what? The signature on the form wasn't mine. Greg had it checked by a handwriting expert. The letters were close, but not right. She forged my name. It turned out, she submitted the form online, logged into my HR portal using saved passwords on our home computer. She thought no one would catch it. After all, I was as good as dead, in her words. We filed a new motion. Fraud. Forgery. Identity theft. This wasn't just divorce anymore. This was criminal. Her new lawyer tried to delay everything. Said she was mentally stressed. Said she was emotionally traumatized by the sudden health decline of her husband and acted out of confusion. The judge didn't buy a single word of it. An investigator got involved. The insurance company was furious. They launched their own case. Denise was now facing civil penalties and possible charges. She tried calling me again. Not to apologize. To threaten. "You think you're smart," she said in a voicemail, "but you don't know who you're messing with." I saved that voicemail. Sent it to Greg. He smiled when he heard it. "Good," he said. "Let her keep digging." Around this time, Maria, the nurse from the hospital, called me. She said someone had come by the rehab center asking questions about me. A man. Not her lawyer. Not a reporter. Someone who claimed to be my cousin. She asked if I had any cousins named Trevor. I didn't. We filed a police report, just in case. Then, about a week later, I got a manila envelope on my porch. Inside were photos. Denise. With another man. Not the Clearwater guy. Someone older. In his 60s. Looked like a retired cop. They were sitting on a park bench, holding hands. In another photo, they were hugging. Then kissing. And in the last one? They were standing in front of a house. My house. The one we were still legally battling over. He was the appraiser she hired. Greg looked into it. This new guy? He wasn't just a fling. He was the man she'd been seeing before the stroke. A former real estate broker she met through her church volunteer group. He'd helped her figure out how to hide assets, suggested she change the insurance, and coached her through the divorce strategy. She didn't come up with any of it on her own. It was all his plan. And now we had pictures, names, dates, and documents tying him into it. Greg leaned back in his chair and said, "Ray, we're going to burn their little castle to the ground." The photos changed everything. Once we had proof that Denise's friend was the one helping her from the shadows, Greg opened a whole new case. This wasn't just about lies and cheating anymore. It was conspiracy to commit fraud. Turns out the man, his name was Paul Mercer, used to be a licensed real estate broker in Kentucky. Lost his license years ago over shady deals involving forged seller signatures and fake home inspections. He never got charged, but he quietly walked away before things got ugly. And now he was back at it. With Denise. We handed everything to the insurance company's investigators and the state attorney general's office. Greg made it real clear to the judge, this woman and her boyfriend were planning my death. Not literally, but close enough. Planning their life after I died. Encouraging it. Profiting from it. We added wire fraud, real estate fraud, insurance fraud, identity theft, and forgery to the list. Denise still tried to play the victim. In court, she wore her church clothes, cried into tissues, told the judge she was being harassed and targeted by men who were bitter that she'd moved on. Greg calmly handed the judge a thumb drive. On it was her voicemail, the one where she told me, "You don't know who you're messing with." The judge's face didn't move. She just nodded, and said, "Motion granted. This is going to criminal court." A month later, Denise was arrested at her apartment. They seized her computer, her phone, and all financial records. Paul Mercer was picked up at his house in Richmond. He looked confused in the mugshot. Like no one had ever told him the rules applied to him. The charges stuck. Forgery. Fraud. Conspiracy. Identity theft. Paul ended up pleading guilty first. Said Denise talked him into everything. Claimed he didn't know I was still alive. Said he thought she was a widow, just trying to survive. The DA didn't buy it, but they took his plea. He gave them all the emails, texts, and notes they exchanged. Turned out Denise was planning to file for full guardianship over me once the doctors declared me mentally incompetent, then pull the plug and cash out. I was supposed to die quietly. Instead, she got loud. Too loud. And now she was headed to court, facing 6 to 10 years. She finally called me again. One last voicemail. "You ruined my life," she said. "You were never supposed to wake up. I could have had a fresh start. You stole that from me." That's when I realized something, she never loved me. Maybe she liked the life I gave her. The house. The comfort. The stability. But love? That was never real. Still. I didn't feel hate. I felt something better. Peace. The judge sentenced Denise to 8 years, with no parole for the first 4. Paul got 5, suspended after 2 with probation. He was banned from working in anything related to finance or real estate again. The house? It was declared 100% mine in the final settlement. I sold it 2 months later for a good price and moved to a quiet spot near Cave Run Lake. Clean air. Peaceful water. Not a single memory of her in sight. My truck? Mine. The savings she tried to steal? Recovered. The fake credit card debt? Cleared. Every piece of damage she tried to cause, I repaired it. Slowly. Brick by brick. 6 months after the sentencing, I got another letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo. It was Paul Mercer. Working at a gas station. Wearing a red shirt and scrubbing a toilet. Whoever sent it wrote 2 words on the back, "Justice served." I laughed for the first time in a long time. I don't see myself as a hero. I ignored the signs for years. I let comfort replace curiosity. I didn't ask enough questions. Didn't protect myself early on. That's on me. But I survived. I fought. And in the end, I won. Not just the case. Not just the revenge. I got me back. I started fishing again. Working part-time fixing HVAC units for a local nonprofit. I volunteer now at stroke recovery support groups. Tell them my story. The real one. They always go quiet when I get to the part where she said, "I'll be free soon enough." And I always end the same way. She was right. She's free now. Locked behind bars. And so am I. Free.